So we're going to begin doing our practice questions for throughput accounting. So let's begin. So let's look at the first question. So the first question is: a company manufactures a product that requires 2 hours per unit of machine time. Machine time is the bottleneck, and there are only 5 machines that are available 24 hours per day, 5 days per week. The product has a selling price of $65 per unit, direct material cost of $25 per unit, and labor cost of $20 per unit. The factory overhead cost is $10 per unit. These costs are based on a weekly production and sales of 300 units. A lot of information there. So what is the throughput accounting ratio? So very simply, I'm sorry, clicked on the wrong one. Yeah. So what is the throughput accounting ratio? Let's go to the very basic. For TPAR, we need return per factory hour divided by cost per factory hour. Okay. So let's do this one by one. The first thing we'll need is throughput. So what is the throughput? Throughput very simply is our selling price 65 minus our material cost of 25. So 65 less 25. That's basically $40. Correct? And wow, how much time do we need? If you look at here, the product requires 2 hours per unit of machine time. So return per factory hour is 40 is what we make from each product, and it takes us to 2 hours to make each product. So every hour we make $20. This is my return per hour. We will also need the cost per hour. So as far as cost per hour is concerned, let's look at all the other costs. This is 25 per unit, 20 per unit, 10 per unit. So that's basically a total of $65, right? No, one moment, please. We don't need the material cost. Labor cost is 20 and factory overhead is 10. So we have $30 per unit, and these costs are based on a weekly production and sales of 300 units. So 30 is my per unit cost. Each week we make 300 units. So this is my total cost, right? And in every week, how many hours do we have of our bottleneck resource? If we look at this, we have 5 machines, 24 hours per day, 5 days a week. That's 5 machines into 24 hours a day into 5 days a week. So if you do this, it's basically our all other costs is 9,000, and this is 25 into 24. That should be what? Let's just a moment. 25 into 24. That's around 600 hours. So our cost per hour basically is 15. So throughput accounting ratio is our return per hour, which is $20, divided by cost per hour, which is 15. So that is about 1.33. So 2 decimal places, 1.33. Okay, let's go. Next up, Z company uses throughput accounting to help assess the efficiency of its operations. Which of the following would improve its throughput accounting ratio? So once again, throughput accounting ratio, what is the basic formula of throughput accounting ratio? It's basically our return. Anything that improves our return or reduces our cost per hour should improve our throughput accounting ratio. So if this improves or this goes down, it should improve our TPAR. So option 1, introduce restrictions specifying the maximum allowed of hours. So this will restrict my production even more. So this does not help me improve my throughput accounting ratio. Replace existing materials with higher quality. Higher quality materials will be more expensive. So if we subtract that from the selling price, our uh, throughput would decrease, and of course our return would decrease as well. Raise the selling price. If we can increase the selling price, then our throughput should improve, and if the throughput improves, obviously our throughput accounting ratio should improve. Use a higher degree of labor for the work. A higher grade of labor would be more expensive, so this also is going to likely to reduce our TPAR. So the correct option here should be option C. All right, so we're going to go with option C. Next up, question number 3. What is the return per hour for product A? So this is rather very simple. Once again, my bad. Let's go back. Yeah. So for this return per hour, the first thing we need is our throughput. So what is our throughput? Our throughput is selling price minus my material cost, which is 80. So that's about 240. Okay. And for return, how long does it take for me to make this much money? So if you look at this, it takes 6 minutes to make this product. So how much do we make every hour? So very simply, return should be equal to 240, right? And it takes us 60 minutes. So it takes us 6 minutes. So divided by 6. But in an hour, how many minutes do we have? So multiplied by 60. Okay. So check this out. 240 divided by 6 multiplied by 60, because it takes us only 6 minutes to make it, and this whole thing, when we do return per hour, it's obviously in hours. So this basically comes down to 2400. In other words, if you want to see that if it only takes 6 minutes to earn 240, in 1 hour we have 60 minutes. That basically means that we can make 10 of these products. So if you can make 10 of these products, 10 times the throughput accounting ratio, which is 2400, right? So that's going to be the answer, 2400. Let's go on to the next one. So which of the following features are true of throughput accounting? It does not attempt to maximize profit. Of course, it attempts to maximize profit. So this is a false statement. Work in progress is valued at material cost only. We know that in our throughput accounting এ আমার work in progress শুধুমাত্র material cost দিয়ে আমরা করি. So that's a true statement. This is an assumption. Costs are allocated to products when they're completed or sold. This is also true. যে যখন আমরা সেল করি তখন আমরা ওটার উপরে বাকি কস্ট গুলো অ্যাড করি, not before that. All right. Only labor cost is treated as variable cost. This is a false statement, because we know আমরা throughput accounting এ only material is treated as a variable cost. ঠিক আছে? So this one is obviously a false statement. All right. Okay. So let's go forward. Which of the following is not an influence on the throughput contribution? So throughput contribution. Okay. So what is my throughput contribution? Throughput contribution is my sale price minus my material cost. All right. All right. Direct material, this obviously affects my throughput, so this is definitely not the answer, because the question is not an influence. How much material we use, that will affect my material cost, so this definitely will affect my throughput. Direct labor, now remember, when we're calculating only throughput, labor has no role in it, so direct labor should not be one. And volume of throughput, this basically means how much we are making per hour. This definitely affects our throughput. So the answer over here is direct labor price does not affect. So this is not an influence on the throughput contribution ratio. All right. Okay. So this is what is the return per factory hour. Okay. Same thing once again. How do we calculate return? First, we will need our throughput. So what is our throughput? Our throughput is 28.5 less 9.25. That's about 19.25. And how many can we make per hour? As you can see, this it takes us 7.8 minutes to make it. So return should be, as we did it before, should be 19.25 divided by 7.8, and and this should be converted to hours, so into 60. Okay. If it is in minutes, this is the best way to go about it if you want to convert it in hours. So that basically gives us how much? 148.08. All right. So answer should be this. Which one of the following would serve to increase the throughput counting ratio? Okay, again, typical. Increase in the fastest machine in the production process. Now remember, when we are trying to improve throughput, আমরা কিন্তু সব থেকে slowest মেশিনটাকে improve করার চেষ্টা করি। So fastest machine এটা improve করে কোনো impact পড়বে না। Unexpected increase in factory rent বাড়লে obviously ratio আমার cost বেড়ে যাবে, so the ratio কমে যাবে, so this has nothing to do with that. A 5% wage increased to an 8% improved in productivity. So আমি যদি 5% আমার যদি লেবারের রেট বাড়ে, বাট আমার যদি এফিসিয়েন্সি বেড়ে যদি যায় 8%, আমার অবভিয়াসলি উপরের যে অংশটুকু রিটার্নটা বেড়ে যাবে কম্পেয়ার্ড টু দ্য কস্ট, সো দিস শুড ইমপ্রুভ ইট। A 10% sales discount to stimulate a demand by 20%. Discount, এটা আসলে without more figures, it's not, you can't really say যে আমার একটু ডিমান্ড বাড়লেই যে আমার থ্রুপুট বাড়বে, বিকজ সেলসটা যখন আমার সেলস প্রাইসটা যখন এফেক্টেড হবে তখন অবভিয়াসলি আমার থ্রুপুট কমে আসবে, কমে আসলে আমার থ্রুপুট অ্যাকাউন্টিং রেশিওটা কমে যেতে পারে। সো দিস ইজ দ্য বেস্ট অপশন, যে আমি মাত্র 5% কস্ট যদি আমার বাড়ে বাট রিটার্ন যদি 8% ইমপ্রুভ করে, সো দ্যাট শুড ইনক্রিজ মাই থ্রুপুট অ্যাকাউন্টিং রেশিও। অলরাইট, ওকে। Question number 8. Which of the above is a bottleneck? So how do we do this? মনে রাখেন bottleneck is whatever আমার lowest যে বানাতে পারে। So আমরা যদি একটু খেয়াল করি, we have 3: prep, machining, and we have polishing. দেখি আমরা prep কতটুকু করতে পারি। যদি 100,000 is available and it takes 2 hours, 100,000 is available and it takes 2 hours, আমরা বছরে 50,000 প্রিপারেশন করতে পারবো। ওকে, look at machine, total available যদি থাকে 220,000 and একটা করতে যদি আমার 4 hours করে লাগে, সো আমরা মেশিনিং এর ক্ষেত্রে ইন টোটাল 55,000 করতে পারবো। In terms of polishing, আমার টোটাল বছরে available আছে 120,000, and if it takes 3 hours, then আমরা in total 40,000 করতে পারবো। তিনটা প্রসেসের ভিতরে সব থেকে স্লো কোনটা? সব থেকে কম আমরা করতে পারবো when it comes to polishing. So this definitely is my bottleneck resource. যতটুকু তথ্য আছে এর ভিতরে this one is my bottleneck resource. All right, okay, so let's go to the next one. What is the profit per day if the daily output achieved is 6,000 units of X, 4,500 units of Y, and 1,200 units of Z? Okay, so এখানে কি কি তথ্য দেওয়া আছে? And can produce 1,200 units of X, 1,500 units of Y, whatever. So Corey produces 3 products. The capacity of Corey's plant is restricted by process alpha to be operational for 8 hours per day and can produce 1,200 units of X per hour, 1,500 units of Y per hour, and 600 units of Z per hour. Selling price দেওয়া আছে। আমরা যদি এটা অ্যাচিভ করতে পারি, what is my profit? So let's go to the basic theme of profit in throughput accounting. Profit very simply is my total throughput minus my conversion cost. So let's do the total throughput first. So very simply, we're making 6,000, and each X is going to make a throughput of 80, plus we'll be making 4,500 units of Y, 4,500 units of Y, and each of this is going to be making a throughput of 80, plus we'll be making 1,200 units of Z, and each of these units will be making a contribution of $200. All right. This is my total throughput. My total conversion cost, because it's already given 720,000. So it's 720,000. So let's do a little bit more. So that's 480 plus 360 plus 240. So how much that is? That's 1,000. 1,080,123 minus 72,000. Sorry, 7.2 million. Better if you put the zeros. The perspective is better. So basically this comes down to how much? What is going to be my daily profit? It's going to be 360,000. Right? Let's just do this. 360,000. This is my profit per day if we can make this each day. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. So go for garage. This is obviously an OTQ. So what is the annual capacity of the bottleneck activity in terms of maximum number of MOTs? Okay, let's look at the question. So Gopher Garage offers MOTs and full service. So they provide MOT service and full service. So all MOT and services have to be carried out by one of the four mechanics at the garage. So this has there are four mechanics, and these mechanics are assisted by three trainees, and the garage has two receptionists who deal with customers when they arrive and when they pay for the work that has been done. So everything goes through three processes. They go through mechanic, then they go through training, and also through receptionist. Okay, and once they go through all these three people, the work is complete. So over here they've given us the average time. MOT scored the mechanic, service, trainees, and all these things. The garage is open for 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. Okay, it is closed for public holidays and a total 2 weeks in any year. Annual staff salaries are 55,000 for each mechanic, 25,000 for each trainee, and 30,000 for each receptionist. Okay. The cost of oil and other materials used during MOT is $15 per customer, and the cost of oil and other material used during services is $25 per customer. Other garage costs amount to $125,000. Gopher Garage charges $120 for MOT and $200 for each service. The garage's accountant has identified mechanic time as the bottleneck. So bottleneck is my mechanic time. So what is the annual capacity of the bottleneck activity in terms of the maximum number of MOTs? So you have to understand the question. Our maximum quarter MOT can they make in a year? So for that, first thing we need to identify maximum hours available by the mechanic, because mechanic is our bottleneck. So please have a look at how we do this. First of all, how many mechanics do we have? We have four mechanics, and these four mechanics work 10 hours a day. They work 5 days a week, and there are 2 weeks holiday. So there are total 52 weeks. If 2 weeks are holidays, that's 50 weeks. 50. So this is the total hours available for mechanics. All right. So, what is the amount? Just give me a moment. Let me just calculate this. 4 into 10 into 5 and 50. That's about 10,000 hours. All right. So maximum MOTs তাহলে কতটুকু possible? Total 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours, and each for MOTs, you can see here the mechanic is going to need 1.25 hours. So maximum MOTs that we can make, 10,000 divided by 1.25. The maximum MOTs we can make in a year is 8,000. All right. So this is going to be 8,000. Same question, except the garages. What is the throughput accounting ratio for both services? So once again, we go back to the very basic throughput accounting ratio. Let's do this. MOTs and services. What is my return? For return, before we go to return, we need to know our throughput. What is the sales price of MOT? 120. Okay. And material cost for MOTs is $15. So 120 minus 15, that's $105 is the throughput for MOT. And for service, 200, and the material is 25. So 200 less 25, that's about 175. Okay. Time on bottleneck. Time on bottleneck. On bottleneck, as we already know, for MOTs, 1.25, because mechanic is my bottleneck, and for service it's 3.2 hours. So 1.25 hours and 3.2 hours. So return কত আছে? 105 divided by 1.25. 105 divided by 1.25, which is 84. For service, it's 175 divided by 3.2. We make 54.7. These are the return. But we need TPAR, so we would also need the cost. Remember, cost per hour. We have to bring the entire cost to each hour. So what information do we have? First of all, the salary. So let's calculate the total cost. Oh, wait a minute. I think they've already set the garage's accountant's cost per hour to be 48. So we don't need to do this. Cost per hour is already given as 48. This is 48. This is 48. Return divided by cost, 84 divided by 48. That's 1.75 is my throughput accounting ratio. I think we don't need to do anything further because MOT has 1.75, so this should be by default the correct answer already. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. What would be the effect on the bottleneck if the garage employed another 3 mechanics? Okay. Mechanics time would be a bottleneck for MOT. So this one's a bit tricky, and I want everybody to focus a little bit on this one, on how to go about this one. So the first thing is, if we hire 3 more mechanics, what would be the impact? First things first. Let's do this. Total number of mechanic hours that would be available, the total number of assistant hours that would be available, and the total number of receptionist hours that would be available. If we have 7 people working, all of them are working 10 hours a day, and all of them are working 5 days a week, and they're working for 50 weeks. So we'll have a total available of 17,500 hours of mechanic. Assistant, so assistant ঠিক আগের মতোই থাকবে. So how many assistants? 3 assistants. So 3 assistants into 10 hours each day into 5 days a week into 50 weeks. So that basically gives us assistant time হলে গিয়ে total থাকবে 7,500. In terms of receptionist, we have 2 receptionists working 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks in a year. This is basically going to be 5,000. So these are basically the hours available. Okay, good. Let's see how many services the mechanic can give, the assistant can give, and the receptionist can give in terms of MOTs and services. So 17,500 ঘন্টা available, and if mechanic 1.25 hours করে লাগে, so that means mechanic can do, you can do the math on your calculator, you can do 14,000 MOTs. Assistant কয়টা পারে? 7,500 available. It takes half an hour for him to service one, so এক বছরে সে 15,000 করতে পারে. Receptionist, total available হলে গিয়ে 5,000, and he can serve 0.25, so 5,000 divided by 0.25, this person is able to do 20,000 service. So আমরা already দেখতে পাচ্ছি the mechanic time, although we have hired 3 new mechanics, it's still going to be a bottleneck for MOTs. So let's have a look at services. For services, same stuff, 17,500 divided by 3.2. So how many can the mechanic do in a year? He can give 5,469 services. Same stuff for the assistant, total or 7,500 available. It's going to only take 1.5 hours. So 5,000 মানুষকে service দিতে পারে. And for receptionist, there's 5,000 hours available, and it takes 0.3, so he can service 16,667 people. Okay, so we can see যে নতুন 3 জন যদি hire করি, our mechanic is the bottleneck for MOTs, our assistant is the bottleneck for services. So let's look at the options. Mechanic's time would be yes. Mechanic's time would be about no, not for services, not for both. There will be no, there is going to be bottleneck. Remember, bottleneck সব সময় থাকে. So of these, this is the right option. So let's go on to the next one. Which two of the following measures could the garage use to improve the throughput accounting ratio? Similar questions we've already done before. Decrease the time spent by the mechanics on each customer. যদি আমরা প্রতি কাস্টমার মেকানিকের টাইম কমায় নিয়ে আসতে পারি, সে কম সময়ে একটা জিনিস শেষ করতে পারে, that would improve my throughput accounting. That could be an option. Decrease the time by trainees on each. Trainees the time কমায় লাভ নাই, because ওরা আমার bottleneck না, so they're not important to me right now. Decrease the operating expense. Yes, আমি যদি operating expenses কমাই, আমার expense যদি কমে আসে, আমার খরচ কমে আসে, আমার TPAR বাড়বে, so that's obviously valid. Decrease the price of the work done for each. No, if you decrease the price, আমার throughput কমে যাবে, throughput কমে গেলে আমার return কমে যাবে, so this is not a valid option. All right. Lastly, which of the following statements are made? Which of the following are true or false? Okay, let's have a look. It can be applied to management of all external factors affecting throughput accounting. টা mainly internal factors এর উপরে base করে করা হয়, so it's most often not for external factors. It is concerned with overcoming a bottleneck identified. Yes, আমরা a bottleneck within a single thing we try to deal with it. This is a bit tricky. It is concerned with overcoming a bottleneck of single activity. একটা রাখে একটু পরে mark করে. It aims to limit the amount of non-bottleneck resources. Yes, if you remember, the basic thing is আমরা সবকিছু bottleneck এর পেসে আগাই, so যেটা non bottleneck ওখানে আমরা কিছু resource limit করে দেই বা কমায় নিয়ে আসি. This is a true statement. It tries to avoid the build up of inventories. Yes, আমাদের বড় একটা aspect of throughput accounting is আমাদের না লাগলে আমরা সেটা বানাই না. So there you go. It's concerned with overcoming a bottleneck identified in a single act, not in a single activity. আমরা যেমন একটু আগে দেখলাম MOTs and services দুইটা activity, and ওখানে আমরা we try to improve either of them. So this for me is a false statement. So well, this was a tricky one. I don't know whether it's correct or not, but let's have a look. Yeah, I guess we got that correct. So yeah, so because you got it correct, that's it from me today. So guys, I hope আপনারা বুঝেছেন, and do go through it again and again, and if you don't understand, ask me. So till next, take care and stay safe.